my goodness, look at this beautiful egg gathering apron. This is the latest in the series from Country Mama's Egg Gathering Apron Collection. This is the Prairie Girl. So get your supplies and let's get started with our tutorial. I like using I Love This cotton yarn, and I have made some other projects where I have some partial skeins, even as little as this, that I need to use up. This is a great stash buster project. So go through your stash, or you can get new, it doesn't matter, and pick out some beautiful, vibrant colors. I'll be the first one to admit that the inspiration for this pattern was based on some kitchenware that I have, inspired by a certain other prairie girl, a little bit more grown up, but I think you'll get the hint there. And so I selected my colors based on that color palette for that kitchenware that I have. So not only are you going to need your yarn, and all of the information with regards to how much yarn you'll need will be in the written pattern, but you're also going to need a pair of scissors, a size G crochet hook, and I'm sorry to say, friends, you are still going to need a yarn needle, because even though this is a no-sew pattern, you still have to sew in the ends, and there's just no getting around that. So I'm sorry. But having said that, gather up your crochet hook, your yarn, and your scissors, and let's get started on this fun project for this Prairie Girl egg gathering apron. We'll begin with round 1 for our Prairie Girl square. I'm going to make the center of this square red. Now, I've been starting a lot of my other aprons with a magic circle or a chain 4. Let's mix things up a little bit here and give you an alternative way to start your granny squares. We're going to go ahead and start with a slip knot and placing our hook into that slip knot. For this pattern, we're going to be placing a series of half double crochets into a center ring. So for this start, we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. These 2 chains here from the hook, the first and the second from the hook, that's going to count as a half double crochet. And this very first chain that we did right here, this is going to actually be what is in essence a faux magic circle. Now you want to make sure when you start this, leave yourself a nice long tail, because you're going to need to really secure this. It doesn't have the grip that a magic circle has, but if you struggle making a magic circle, this will work. So since chain 1 is going to actually be our magic circle, and this is our first half double crochet, we're going to place 7 more half double crochet right here into this first chain. So yarn over into the chain, pull up a loop. You have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on your hook. That is a half double crochet. 6 more to go. So here is, in essence, I'm going to count it the correct way. There's half double crochet number 3, because our chain counts as 1. Half double crochet number 4. Half double crochet number 5. And again, we're working in that very first chain. Half double crochet number 6, half double crochet number 7, and half double crochet number 8. Pull on that chain tail just a little bit to tighten up the center of your ring. Head back to where you had the chain 2, slip stitch into that top chain there, and close this round. You'll have 8 half double crochet for round 1. I like to finish off my work by chaining 2, 1, 2, and then I like to cut my yarn, leaving a nice long tail to sew in later. Pull your yarn through, pinch the very top of this chain 2, and give that yarn a nice tug, and that's going to snug up a knot up against your work, and that's not going to come undone. Don't cut this initial tail short. Make sure that you take your yarn needle and weave that in on the wrong side. It will be on the wrong side 2, 3, 4 times to make sure that the center of your square does not come undone. Let's move on to round 2. I'm going to be using aqua for round 2. Round 2 has a specialty stitch. We're going to be creating a 3 double crochet together and some 4 double crochet together clusters. That will be written in the pattern, and then pay attention here for what's going to be needed for round 2. To begin round 2, we're going to go ahead and start with a slip knot. And I'm going to set this down for a second because we're going to go back to round 1 and we're going to place our hook in between any half double crochet, not in the top of the stitch. We're going to be working between the stitches of round 1. With our hook through, we're going to go ahead and add our yarn and pull that through, and we're going to chain 1, 2, 3. In this same stitch where we joined, we're going to do a 3 double crochet together. So yarn over, go into that space in between our stitches, pull our yarn back through, yarn over, pull through 2. We're going to do that 2 more times. Into that stitch, grab our yarn and pull it through, yarn over, pull through 2. 1 more time, into that stitch, pull our yarn back through, yarn over, pull through 2. We have 4 loops on our hook now. We're going to yarn over and pull through all 4 loops. This creates a really nice little cluster. We're going to chain 2. 1, 2. We're now going to work our next cluster in between these 2 half double crochet here. So yarn over, in between those stitches, grab our yarn and pull it back through, yarn over, pull through 2. Back into the same space, pulling up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Into the same space, pulling up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. We're going to do this a total of 4 times. Into the same space, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. We have 5 loops left on our hook. We're going to yarn over and pull through all 5 and chain 2. That closes this stitch and it provides an extra chain in between our little cluster petals here. Now we're going to work in the space between these next 2 half double crochet here. Yarn over, pushing your hook in between those stitches, and begin your cluster. Chain 2, and you can start seeing all of the clusters starting to come together. Work a cluster in between every stitch around. A little side note here, if you're having difficulty finding where to put your hook in between the stitches, let the hook do the work for you. Just yarn over and just find where you think the next stitch should go and just push your yarn through. More often than not, it's going to find that space in between those stitches for you, and then you can just continue on making your cluster. If it doesn't look right, take it out, start over again. But 9 times out of 10, it's going to find the right space for you. Three more to go. I'll meet up with you right here. I'm finishing up my last cluster of the round. You want to have 8 clusters in total. Don't forget that last chain 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Right here at the top of the very first cluster that you made, not the chain, the cluster, come over here to this first chain that you did and see if you can get your hook to just go right into that chain and finish off this round with a slip stitch. And that will pull that cluster over, and that way everything aligns beautifully. Go ahead and chain 2 so you can finish off. Cut your yarn, leaving a nice long tail. Pull that yarn through. Pinch the top of those chain 2 and pull that up against your work nice and snug. And here you've got round 1 in red and round 2 in this beautiful aqua color with all of our clusters. Let's move on to round 3. For round 3, I'm going to be using yellow. I'm going to start with a slip knot, leaving a nice long tail to sew in later. And I'm going to locate a chain 2 space anywhere here from round 2. Anywhere, doesn't matter. Let's just slip into that one right there. And we're going to pull that through and complete a slip stitch. Chain 2. And in this very same space where we joined, we're going to place 2 double crochet. 1 and 2. Chain 1. Moving to the next chain 2 space, we're going to create a corner. So we're going to place 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet in this space right here. After you complete your first 3, kind of push that to the side so you have room for your second grouping of 3 to complete that corner. Chain 1. Going to your next chain 2 space in between your clusters, 3 double crochet. Chain 1. Moving on to our next set of clusters, we're going to create another corner. So 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet in that chain 2 space. You're not working in any stitches, you're working in the space created by the chain 2s in between your clusters. Chain 1. Moving in between the next set of clusters right here, a grouping of 3 double crochet. Chain 1. We're going to place another corner here, then a grouping of 3 here, and in between our last set, another corner. I'm going to work my way around and meet up with you when we're ready to join this round. Here's the last double crochet of our corner. Chain 1. We're going to locate where we chained up and just go ahead and slip stitch into this grouping of 3. If you want to, you can slip stitch over to the corner before finishing off, but I'll just finish off right here. Cut your yarn, leaving a nice long tail. Always double check your work before you finish off. Make sure you didn't miss placing any double crochets in the corner or any of your chain 1 spaces. This looks good, so I'm going to go ahead and just pinch that top chain, give my yarn a nice firm tug, and cinch that knot right up against my work. And round 3 is done. Let's move on to round 4. For round 4, I recommend using white. White will be the color that you use to put all of your squares together. It will be the color for your apron waistband and your apron ties. It just gives a really nice finished look to your Prairie Girl square. So go ahead and start with a slip knot and locate any chain 2 space. We're going to go right here, get our yarn onto our hook and pull it through, and we've attached our work. Now we're going to go ahead and just chain 1. Slide that over to the corner there. In this chain 2 space, we're going to complete 3 single crochet, 2 chain, 3 single crochet. So here's 1, 2, and 3 single crochet, chain 2, push that aside a little bit if you need more room, and 3 single crochet right back into that same chain 2 space. This creates a little single crochet border around the edge of our square. Chain 1. Moving to our next chain 1 space, place 3 single crochet. 1, 2, and 3. Chain 1, 3 single crochet in the next chain 1 space. 1, 2, and 3. Chain 1. We're here at a corner. We're going to place 3 single crochet, chain 2, 3 single crochet in the corners. Chain 1. Continue this around, placing a grouping of 3 single crochet, chain 1 in each chain 1 space, and 3 single crochet, chain 2, 3 single crochet, and then chain 1 as you work around in your chain 2 spaces here from the prior round. I'm going to continue placing my single crochet pattern around, and I'll meet up with you right here when we're ready to close off this round. And here at our last chain 1 space, placing in our final 3 single crochet, chain 1, and going here to the corner, we're going to locate our very first single crochet, slip stitch into that stitch to close the round. Chain 2. Before you finish off, I really like to suggest on this final round that you look, make sure that you haven't skipped any chain 2 spaces here in the corners. Make sure that you have all single crochets. It's very easy when you're used to making granny squares to place double crochets. You don't want any double crochets. Make sure they're all single. Everything looks good here. I'm going to go ahead and cut my yarn, leaving a nice long tail. Pull my yarn through, pinch those 2 chain and cinch that down, and our square is done. Now you're going to look at this and say, oh my gosh, it's kind of wobbly. Maybe I should block it. You don't need to worry about blocking it. When we put our apron together, everything is going to firm up nicely and your squares are going to look beautiful. So go ahead and complete 12 squares in total for your pocket fronts. Mix up the color combinations however you like. Make sure that you make this apron uniquely yours. Let's talk about the backs of our pockets. Let me set this down. The backs of our pockets are going to be worked in the exact same pattern as the front, but there won't be as many color changes. Rounds 1, 2, and 3 will all be in the color of your choice, with round 4 being in the white. One thing I like to recommend when making the squares for the back of your pockets is look to see what color you have for round 3. Make that the main color of a pocket to match up with this pocket. Reason being is when you stack them together when we're going to make the apron, you want that same color shining through all of these spaces. If you were to place this one on top of a red, you're going to have red show through, and it's not as aesthetically pleasing as having the same color. It'll give you a much cleaner look. So for instance, this is a red square for the back of our pocket. I would marry that up with this square here so that the red shows through. I have a gold back pocket. I would marry that up with this pocket here that has gold for round 3. So go ahead, complete your 12 pocket fronts, complete 12 pocket backs, and let's move on to making our waistband. For our apron waistband, we're going to be making the waistband in white, and we're going to start with a slip knot, again leaving a nice long tail to sew in and secure later. We're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Slip stitch into your very first chain, and this will create a ring or a loop. We're going to be working into this loop right here. Don't work into the chain that you just slip stitched into. Make sure you find the loop. Having said that, we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3, and we're going to double crochet into that ring that we created 2 times. So here's 1 double crochet, and here's 2 double crochet. Chain 2, going right back into this ring that we created, place 3 double crochet. One, 2, and 3. Now don't get ahead of me. Don't start working around. We're not making the beginning of a granny square. We're working on our waistband. Right now what we're going to do is we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and we're going to turn our work so that the chain 2 space from the last round is pointing up towards the top. We're going to be working in this chain 2 space. We're going to place 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet, all in that chain 2 space. And again, once you start adding your stitches, if you need to push your work to the side a little bit to give yourself a little extra room, you go ahead and do that. This chain 3 right here counts as our first double crochet in this little grouping here. We want to place a double crochet in the very top of that first double crochet. Chain 3, turn your work so that the chain 2 space is at the top. Again, we're going to place 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet in this chain 2 space. Once again, going to the first double crochet from that prior round, place a double crochet in the top of that double crochet. And you've completed another row. Chain 3 and turn so that that chain 2 space is at the top of your work. You're going to notice that you're going to have little chain spaces along the sides of your waistband as you create it. These little spaces here is where we'll be connecting our apron. So always make sure you've got a chain space. Let's complete a couple more rows. Again, we're going to have 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet, all into that center chain 2 space. We're going to skip our first 2 double crochet and place a double crochet right here in that last double crochet from the prior row. Chain 3, turn our work so that the chain 2 space is at the top. Very simple once you understand how it all comes together. So here we have row 1, row 2, row 3, and row 4. Continue on with the pattern until you have 35 rows. Once you complete that last row, instead of chaining 3, you'll just finish off. And then sew in your ends and set your waistband aside. Now don't panic when you see that this waistband is only about 20 inches long. This is just the waistband. We're going to be adding ties to this waistband to tie your apron. I assure you it's going to fit. Don't make any adjustments to this. 35 is the number you want for an adult apron. So I'm going to finish this and I'll set it aside, and then when I come back we'll discuss putting our apron together. We've already discussed completing all of your squares. Make sure you take the time to sew in the ends on the back side of your work and have everything ready for your apron assembly. This is the one I just made. I have to sew all of my ends in. Once all of your ends are sewn in, make sure you pair them up with the pocket front and the pocket back. You're working with a lot of colors here, and you want it to be diversified across your apron as much as possible. So for instance, try not to put two of the gold colors side by side. Spread them out a little bit. It's like working a puzzle. Lay all of your puzzle pieces out, figure out what colors you want where, and then once you have that determined, we're going to go ahead and put our apron together. When you have your waistband completed, I want you to count over 6 spaces on the edge of your waistband. So right here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and place a stitch marker in that 6th space. This will indicate where we attach our first square. Go ahead and set this aside. For our apron assembly, I'm going to start with this first set of pockets here. Make sure that you take your wrong sides. You can clearly see that this is a wrong side. We have a lot of bumps here. When you look at the front, it's nice and smooth. So this is the wrong side of the back of our pocket, and this is the wrong side of the front of our pocket. You can see where we've sewn in our ends, and it's just not as pretty as it is in the front. So marry those two up. We're going to join with white. I like to start our join with a standing single crochet. We're going to have the yarn on our hook as we enter the first chain 1 space as we begin our join. Go ahead and slip that hook into the chain 1 space of both the front and the back pocket. Yarn over and pull that yarn back through to the front. You have 2 loops on your hook. Yarn over and complete a standing single crochet. Chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Moving on to your first corner, we have a chain 2 space here that we're going to place our hook into. Make sure you go through both the pocket front and the pocket back in that chain 2 space. Pull your yarn back through and complete a single crochet. Chain 4. Now, one of the rules for our flat braid join is in the corners you always want to have a single crochet, a chain sequence, and a single crochet. It will create a loop here at this corner that we'll be working in. So don't skip that second single crochet. It's imperative. So there's our second single crochet, and it creates this little loop. Now, as you work in your chain 1 spaces and chain 4, you get a little loop along the side of your work as well. Having completed that second single crochet, we're going to chain 4 and go to the next chain 1 space here on round 4 of our squares, going through both squares, pulling our yarn back through and completing that single crochet. Chain 4. Now don't get ahead of me because things are going to change up when we get over here. Going to our next chain 1 space. Whoops. Complete a single crochet. Chain 4. Going to our next chain 1 space, going through both squares, completing a single crochet. Chain 4. We're here to this corner. Now we're going to actually join our square to the waistband. Locate that chain 2 space on both squares. And complete your first single crochet. We're still going to chain 4 as we've done all along every space here. We're going to interrupt our chain 4 to join to our waistband. So we're going to chain 2, just 2. We're going to collect our waistband now and note where we've marked this spot here. This was our 6th chain space on our waistband. We can remove our marker now. We're going to remove our hook from our work and we're going to place our hook where that marker was, right through that space on our apron. We're just going to grab that loop. We're going to collect that loop back up and pull it through. We're not completing any slip stitches. We're just pulling it through. So This is now connected to our square. We're going to complete our chain 4 sequence of here's our chain 3 and here's our chain 4. Now our square is connected. Since we were working on a corner, we always have to make sure we have 2 single crochet here. So we have 1 single crochet, our series of chains. We have to put another single crochet into that corner. There we go. Now we're going to be working along these chain spaces here in just the back pocket, just the back. If we work through both the front and the back, we're going to accidentally crochet our pocket closed. We won't have any way to put our eggs in. So continuing on with our sequence, we're going to chain 2, because we're going to interrupt that chain 4. Remove our hook. We're going to locate the very next chain space here on our waistband, placing our hook from the front to the back, collecting that loop that we took off of our hook and pulling it back through to the front, completing chain 3 and chain 4. Now we're going to move to the next chain 1 space of our pocket, but we're going to fold down the front and only work in the back so we don't accidentally crochet our pocket closed. Just place a single crochet in that chain 1 space. Chain 2, that's half of our chain sequence. Remove our hook. Locate the very next chain space here on our waistband. Go in from the front to the back, grab that loop and pull it through, and complete chain 3 and chain 4 of our chain sequence. Going back to the pocket we're working on, go into the chain 1 space of just the back pocket, completing a single crochet. Going back to our chain sequence, 1, 2, interrupt it, going to our waistband and grabbing the very next chain space, going in from the front to the back, put that loop back on your hook and pull it through, and complete chain 3 and chain 4. Now don't get ahead of me because things change up at the corner. Going to our next chain 1 space on the back of our pocket, a single crochet. Going back to our chain sequence, chain 1, chain 2, locate the very next chain space on your apron waistband, collect that loop and pull it through, chain 3, chain 4. Now we're to the corner of our pocket. Remember the corners, you always go through both the front and the back of the pocket at the corners. So we're going to put our corners back together here and complete our first single crochet and chain 2. I'm going to stop you right here because this is where things change up a little bit. Let's look at what we've got here. We're connecting our pocket to our waistband and it's going to create a beautiful braid here. Isn't that pretty? When we get here to the corner, anytime there's an interior corner of your pockets, you want to skip a chain space, and I'll tell you why. If we connect this pocket to the very next chain space and then work down this side, when it comes time to join our second pocket and we join it here, we're going to have a big gap right here in the center, and we don't want that big gap. The way to fix that is to actually create a crisscross pattern of our join up here anytime we join our pockets. So we're going to skip this one, placing our hook from the front to the back in the next one after we skip, grabbing that loop that we dropped from our hook and pulling it through, and completing our sequence of chain 3 and chain 4. Going back to the corner of our pocket, we have to have that second single crochet, placing that there, and now our top of our pocket has been successfully added to the waistband. Double check to make sure you didn't accidentally crochet your pocket closed. This looks good, and we're ready to continue on. Now that we're not joining anything, we're going to go back to having that uninterrupted chain 4 sequence. So chain 4, working through both the pocket front and the pocket back in a chain 1 space, complete a single crochet. Chain 4, To the next chain 1 space through both front and back pocket, complete a single crochet. To the next chain 1 space of both pocket front and pocket back, a single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're here to the corner, so we're going to place our hook into the chain 2 space of both the front and the back, completing a single crochet, chain 4, and single crochet right back into that same corner, so we create that little loop at the corner. You'll see later why these little loops are so important, so make sure you don't finish off anything until you make sure you have your loops. 1, 2, 3, 4. To our next chain 1 space, a single crochet. 1, 2, 3, and 4. To our next chain 1 space, a single crochet. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now we're here where we started, and we have our standing single crochet right here. I like to turn my work over and place my hook through where that standing single crochet is, and I also like to grab a stitch or two from our square, pull that through, completing a slip stitch, chain 2 so we can finish off our work. Leaving a nice long tail, go ahead and cut your yarn. Pull your yarn through, and before you cinch that down, take a look at your pocket and make sure you haven't missed anything. Make sure that all of your corners have their little loops, and make sure that every chain 1 space has a loop. These loops on the outer edge of your apron are going to be a really pretty little scalloped decorative edging. These loops on the interior of this pocket are going to be used to join your next pocket, and the loops at the bottom of this row 1 are going to be used to join pocket 5 when you start on your second row. This pocket looks good, so I'm going to go ahead and pinch the top of those chain 2 and cinch a knot down, and cinch that knot down to that join. It's nice and snug. Later on, I'll come back and I'll sew these ends in, but for now, pocket 1 has been successfully joined to our waistband. Let's move on to pocket 2. For pocket 2, I've chosen this pretty aqua grouping, making sure that I've got the wrong sides together. I'm going to go ahead and start with that slip knot to get my join started. Placing that slip knot on my hook, I'm going to locate any chain 1 space before a corner. So I'm just going to go right here, pull my yarn back through, yarn over, pull through both loops, creating a standing single crochet. Chain 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm going to go to the corner, go into my chain 2 spaces of both the pocket front and pocket back, completing a single crochet. Since we're at the corner, we have to have a single crochet or chain 4 sequence and another single crochet right back into that same chain 2 space to create our little corner. We're going to work along the bottom of this pocket, 1, 2, 3, 4 chains. Going to the next chain 1 space, a single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4 chains. The next chain 1 space, a single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4. Single crochet. Now don't get ahead of me because we're changing things up at the corner already. We're going to join to pocket 1. So here at the corner, we're going to chain 1, 2, 3, 4. Insert our hook into both pocket front and back at the corner and complete a single crochet. We're going to interrupt our chain sequence now, 1, 2, removing our hook. We're going to go to the little loop created at the corner of pocket 1. This is the interior side of the pocket, and we're going to go to this little loop right here, placing our hook from the front to the back, grabbing that loop that we dropped off of our hook and pulling it back through, and completing chain 3 and chain 4. This connects pocket 2 to pocket 1. Since we're at a corner, we have to have that second single crochet in the corner. We've completed our chain sequence, so going back to the pocket we're working on, we're going to complete that second single crochet in the corner. So now pocket 2 is connected to pocket 1. We're going to work up the side towards the waistband. I'm going to rotate my work just a little bit here so I have easy access to reach what I need. I've just completed this corner, the second single crochet. I'm going to do my chain sequence, 1, 2, but since I'm joining, I'm going to interrupt it and remove my hook. I'm going to locate the first chain 4 here on the side of this pocket. Go from the front to the back, grab that loop and pull it back through and complete chain 3, chain 4. Moving on to the pocket I'm working on, I'm going to place my hook into the next chain 1 space of both pockets and complete a single crochet. Chain sequence 1, 2. Since I'm joining, I'm going to remove my hook and go to the next loop here on pocket 1 and pull that through, complete chain 3, chain 4. Going back to the pocket I'm working on, a single crochet in the chain 1 space of both the front and the back pocket. Chain sequence 1, 2, remove my hook, go to the next loop here on pocket 1 and pull that through, complete chain 3, chain 4. One more time, a single crochet in the chain 1 space of the pocket we're working on, chain 2, removing our hook, going to the next loop on pocket 1, putting that loop back on our hook and pull through, completing chain 3 and chain 4. Now we're to the corner of our pocket. We're going to join the corner of this pocket to the top of the waistband. We're going to insert our hook into that chain 2 space and get our first single crochet completed and chain 2. Remove your hook. Now we discussed earlier about how you want to have a crisscross action here when you're joining your pockets up at the corners. So go back to your waistband and locate the space that you skipped. Here we've got pocket 1 connected here. We skipped this space right here. This is where you're going to want to place your hook. Go in through that space and go underneath all of these join loops right here. Go under it. Put your loop back on your hook and pull that loop underneath all of that work that you've already done. And complete your chain sequence of 3, 4. Go back to the pocket you're working on and get that second single crochet in the corner right there. And now pocket 2 has been successfully joined to the waistband, and you've got this really pretty pattern starting here in the corner. You don't have any big obvious gaps. Now we're going to join the top of pocket 2 to the waistband just as we did pocket 1. We've just completed a single crochet. We're going to start our chain sequence. Chain 1, chain 2, remove our hook, and we need to find the next available chain space. Don't go to the next chain space because the next chain space is already connected with pocket 1 crisscross over here. So this chain space is already taken. You want the next available chain space, which is going to be right here. Put your loop back on your hook and pull that through and complete chain 3 and chain 4. Going back to the pocket we're working on, just working in the back pocket square now because we don't want to crochet this closed. Into that chain 1 space, a single crochet. Chain 1, chain 2, remove your hook, go to the next chain space on your waistband and pull that loop through, chain 3, chain 4. Going to the next chain 1 space here on the back of your pocket, a single crochet. Chain 1, chain 2, remove your hook, go to the next chain space on your waistband and pull that through, complete chain 3, chain 4. Once you get the rhythm and understanding of how this works, this goes so quickly, you're going to love it, I promise. Going to our next chain 1 space of just the back pocket, a single crochet. Chain 1, chain 2, remove your hook, go to the next chain space on your waistband and pull that through, chain 3, chain 4. Now we're to the corner. Remember, at the corner we go through both squares. So bring that corner from your front back up in alignment here. Go through the chain 2 space, complete a single crochet, chain 1, chain 2, remove your hook. This is an interior corner because we're going to have pocket 3 added next. So we want to make sure that we skip the next available chain space and then go to the next one so we can create that crisscross action that's going to give us a beautiful, pretty floral pattern in the corners. And I'm going to show that to you in a minute. Chain the rest of your sequence. So that's chain 3, chain 4. Go back to the pocket you're working on. Complete a single crochet. And now your second pocket has been connected to your waistband. Now let's take a look. I'm going to remove my hook real quick. Let's take a look at how this looks. You're going to have this really pretty braided look across the top of where your pockets meet your waistband. You're going to have a really pretty braided look in between your pockets for your egg pockets. And then let's discuss right here in the corner where we did all of our crisscross. I like to take my hook, turn it upside down, and just kind of go into every available little spot here and push my work towards the center. And when I do that, look at that pretty little floral snowflake design that creates in the center. So much better than having a big, huge, gaping hole. Make sure you do the crisscrosses. Make sure when you join at the corners, you go under the work and pull your work back through under. If you do this join on top, then you're just going to have it sitting here flopping around. You don't want that. Make sure you go under the work when you do that. But look how pretty that is. I'm going to complete pocket 2. I'm going to add pocket 3 here and pocket 4 here. Everything remains the same as what you've learned so far, except when you get to the part on pocket 4 where you're going to attach to the waistband and it's your very last corner, you don't need to skip a chain space. Just go ahead to the very next one. We're not adding a pocket 5 over here, so you don't need to have a crisscross. Just connect to the very next one. So I'm going to complete all the way through pocket 4, and then I'll meet up with you when I'm ready to add pocket 5 so I can show you how it connects here to pocket 1. I'll meet you there. Okay, I've completed pocket 1, pocket 2, pocket 3, and pocket 4 for our apron. And as I stated earlier, up here in the corner, don't skip. Just go right to the very next space. I've got different colors in the front. I've made sure that I have a different color for each pocket in the back, so no two are together. We're going to start here with pocket 5. I've already worked up one side of pocket 5, making sure again that it's not going to conflict with the color I have back here. I'm going to start with this beautiful dark teal color, and I'm here at the corner. And at the corner, I've already got my first single crochet. I'm going to chain 2, remove my hook, and we're going to go right here to this little loop that we made in the corner of pocket 1. Placing our hook in from the front to the back, grabbing that loop that we took off of our hook and pulling it back through, and completing chain 3, chain 4, going right back to the pocket we're working on, pocket 5, and getting that second single crochet into the corner. Now we've successfully joined pocket 5 to pocket 1. We're going to join the top of pocket 5 to the bottom of pocket 1, once again making sure that we only work in the back pocket here so we don't accidentally crochet our pocket closed. We're going to start our chain sequence, chain 1, chain 2, removing our hook, locating the next little chain space here at the bottom of pocket 1, pulling that through, chain 3, chain 4. Going along to just the back pocket of pocket 5, single crochet in the next chain 1 space, chain 1, chain 2, remove your hook, finding the next little loop here on the bottom of pocket 1, pull through, complete chain 3, chain 4. Continuing on with pocket 5, we're going to the next chain 1 space, single crochet, chain 1, chain 2, locating the next chain 4 loop here at the bottom of our pocket 1, pull through and complete chain 3, chain 4. Single crochet in the next chain 1 space, chain 1, chain 2, remove your hook, go through the loop, put your hook back in there and complete chain 3, chain 4. We're here to the corner, so we're going to make sure we go through both pockets again, pocket front and pocket back, with a single crochet right there in the corner, chain 1, chain 2. Now, the reason I've brought you along this far is because I want to show you where you're going to place your hook now to join. You've got a lot of stuff going on right here. We're going to remove our hook. Now, again, we don't want to join right here because we're going to have a gap. We're going to go over here to pocket 2. We're going to join this corner of pocket 5 to this corner of pocket 2. Locate where you did the single crochet, chain, single crochet. This is the loop you want right here. You don't want this, you don't want this, you don't want this. You want this loop right here. Place your hook in, grab the loop that you dropped off of your hook and pull it back through. And then chain 3, chain 4. Going back to pocket 5 to the corner. Again, we go through both layers when we're in the corner here. A single crochet. We're going to complete this square with our regular chain sequence because we're not joining anymore, and then a single crochet in the chain 1 space. Chain sequence, single crochet in the chain 1 space. When you get to the corners, make sure that you single crochet, chain sequence, and single crochet right back into that same corner, making sure you get that loop because these loops are important. And then finish off this square. I'm going to finish pocket 5, and I'm going to meet up with you when I get ready to join pocket 6 because I just want to discuss this join. I'll see you there. Okay, we're here on pocket 6, and I'm to the corner where I'm going to join right up here where there's pocket 1, pocket 2, and pocket 5. I'm here at the corner. I'm going to place my first single crochet, start my chain sequence of 1, 2. Now I need to locate where I'm going to join pocket 6 to pocket 1. I'm going to locate my corner, find where I did the single crochet loop, single crochet, and I'm going to go into that loop right there, going underneath all that work. Don't come and pop out the top. Don't do that. You're going to go underneath all the work, all the joins you've already got. Grab that loop and carefully pull it back through underneath everything, back up to the top here, and complete chain 3, chain 4, returning back to the pocket you're working on, which is pocket 6, and complete that second single crochet in the corner. So here, once again, we're going to have this beautiful filigree flower once we're done joining. I'm going to go ahead and continue joining 6. I'm going to add 7 and 8. And then for row 3, it's the same repeat as row 2. You're going to have pocket 9, 10, 11, and 12. When we get all of our pockets put together, we'll come back and we'll work on the ties for our apron. I've worked up a little mock waistband here just so I can show you how to do the ties for your waistband for your apron. We're going to make our ties in the same color as our waistband. We're going to start here with a slip knot, and we're going to join our yarn at either end of our waistband. You'll be doing both of them ultimately, but either here in the chain 2 space at the end of your waistband here, or in the ring that you created here at this end. So you're going to want to join your yarn with a slip stitch to the end of your waistband. And you're going to chain 60. For time constraints and the purposes of this tutorial, I'm only going to chain 15. but you're going to want to chain 60. Now in the written pattern, there is a chart that can let you know how long you need to have your waistband and your ties for certain sizes of your apron. But for this pattern with the 12 pockets, we're going to have our waistband and then 60 chains for your ties on each side. Now let's discuss chain anatomy here for a moment. When you do your chain, you have these little series of V's or teardrops. You have one loop on the top, one loop on the bottom. In a lot of patterns, you would just stick your hook in between these loops here and work your next stitches. But for this waistband, we want it to have a nice clean edge, a nice look. We're going to flip our chain over, and on the back of the chain, you'll see a series of bumps. They're linear bumps. They go in a straight line. This is called the bar of the chain. We're going to be working in this bar to create our ties. So not the first chain here, but the second chain from our hook. We're just going to slide our hook under that bar. And we're going to yarn over, pull through, yarn over, and complete a single crochet. Going to the very next chain, sliding your hook under that bar. Sometimes it takes a little bit of a wiggle. Pull your yarn back through and complete a single crochet. You're going to want to place a single crochet in every bar along your chain. I'll meet up with you when we get back here to our chain 2 space. I'm here to where we've joined on, and I'm just going to go ahead and slip stitch right back into that chain 2 space, chain 1, and turn my work. And now we're going to work across the top of this tie. We're going to slip stitch into the very first single crochet, and then we're going to single crochet in every stitch across to the end. We only have a few stitches left. Let's place a single crochet here and a single crochet here. And in your very last stitch, I want you to slip stitch. This is going to give the end of your tie a really nice rounded look as opposed to a square look. It's a really nice finish for the end of your tie. Cut your yarn, leaving yourself a nice long tail, and cinch down those 2 chains that you put there at the end to finish off, and there is your apron tie. Go ahead and sew in the end here. Where you joined to your waistband, make sure you secure that very well. You're going to have a lot of pressure put on this when you tie this on. So make sure you sew this really well with that nice long tail that you left for yourself. Go ahead and complete your second tie at the other end of your waistband, and your apron is complete. Now I have to admit, I've fiddled around with quite a few ties for my aprons. These ties are the best. They're sturdy, but they're not too thick. You're able to tie them. They're not clunky, and they're just adorable the way that they curly-cue here at the ends. It really makes a nice finishing touch for your egg apron. The only thing left to do is make sure you sew in your ends. Okay, friends, that's it for this tutorial for the Prairie Girl egg gathering apron. I hope you enjoyed this apron as much as I do.